Now, people might go, "Oh, that's a third party, blah, blah, blah." Hey, man, if you're on that ballot in November, you're on the ballot in November.
Let's
That's
not forget that the Communist Party, right, which started
Mhm.
like right around 1900, it actually won electoral votes, right? What didn't Eugene Debs win electoral votes on
Yes.
his ticket from prison in like the 20s? So
Yes,
this was
Eugene
a real
Debs.
party. This was a real
Right.
party in the United
It was a
States.
legit party. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of WTF History. And we want to thank everybody for, God, I can't believe how many people are watching our stuff, Mike. It makes me feel good that so many people love history and
It's
really love the stuff of history that we love, which is the stuff they don't teach you in school.
it's weird to say millions of people have watched us, but millions of people have watched us, and we're flattered.
Yeah, really flattered. Because actually, I don't know if we think we have all that much to offer. So let's see what we do. We're entering the election season here in the United States because we know a lot of our listeners are not in the United States, or a lot of our viewers are not in the United States. But in November, we're going to have a presidential election here. And so we thought we would bring our viewers some election stories. I think a lot of people refer to her as a black nominee for president, right? The on the ticket for the November election, right? Not a primary, but the big deal. But people, forget that there are people before these people that made it all possible. So if I were to ask you, Mike, who was the first black woman to run for president, who would you say?
Gosh, that is a great question. And here I should say that I am ashamed that I don't know the answer.
Well, what?
I could speculate, but I would probably.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. I don't think most people would nowadays. Maybe in the late 70s, people could remember, but I think most people would say Shirley Chisholm. Shirley Chisholm she was the first black congresswoman. She was not the first she was not the first female of color congresswoman. Do you know who that was? I only ask you because I think you might know because you're such a geek about this.
Huh. God, what I'm drawing two blanks today, and now you made me look bad.
Yeah, it was Patsy Mink, and
Oh,
she was from Hawaii.
there
So
you
she was elected in 1965. I could be wrong about that,
go.
but she was elected in 1965. And Shirley Chisholm was or I think, or 64. One of those. We could figure it out. If I'm wrong, we'll put it in. We'll put it down here. But she was elected a cycle ahead, and in 1968, Shirley Chisholm was elected to Congress, and she was a black woman, very very strong woman from what an area that is now, numbers change, right? So I like to go by the areas like you did. It's the area now represented by Hakeem Jeffries.
Wow.
So Bedford Stuy, the
Sure.
Bedford Stuyvesant area there. So she represented that area, but she was the first. It was a big deal in the late 60s when Shirley Chisholm was elected. And in 1972, Shirley ran for president. She ran for the nomination as a Democrat. And as you know, in 1972, that whole thing was locked up, right? I think in 72, what Shirley just wanted was to get some leverage from delegates so that she can have an influence on the appointments. Like she wanted an indigenous person appointed as head of interior.
Sounds
She wanted some people from urban areas to be the head of HUD. So she had some, I think, progressive appointment ideas that she wanted to just try and get leverage for. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to do that. The folks folded. But I think if you know history, people might say Shirley Chisholm in 1972, but it wasn't her. And also, Shirley wasn't the nominee for the party. Shirley was running to be the nominee for the party, right? She was running for the Democrat nomination. There's a difference.
yeah.
The first person was someone who's been completely forgotten by history, and it kind of makes me sad. Her name was Charlene Mitchell. And in 1968, the same year that Shirley Chisholm was elected to Congress, Charlene Mitchell was actually her party's nominee in the general election in November. She ran for the Communist Party. Now, people might go, "Oh, that's a third party, blah, blah, blah." Hey, man, if you're on that ballot in November, you're on the ballot in November.
Let's
That's
not forget that the Communist Party, right, which started
Mhm.
like right around 1900, it actually won electoral votes, right? What didn't Eugene Debs win electoral votes on
Yes.
his ticket from prison in like the 20s? So
Yes,
this was
Eugene
a real
Debs.
party. This was a
Right.
real party in the United
It was a
States.
legit party. So Charlene Mitchell, she was born in Cincinnati in 1930. Very, very politically active. She came from a very politically active family, like extremely politically active. They moved to Chicago. Her father was a precinct captain in Chicago, and I think if you know anything about Chicago politics, you know that that is, you know, those are real deals there. And she joined the. She started uh, kind of, I want to say, messing with the Communist Party at a young age, but she joined the American Youth for Democracy branch of the Communist Party at the age of 16.
I said that's a household name.
Yeah,
A rite of
right, right.
passage for every.
For every young American. So she joined that party. She engaged in sit-ins to break the segregation at the lunch counters. At the age of 13, she was doing sit-ins. She
Oh,
was very, very, very active. Um, she moved to Los Angeles, where she formed the Che Lumumba party, not party, but the Che Lumumba kind of organization. What essentially what that was that was a branch of the Communist Party for Black Americans. So, as you know, Mike, during this era, during the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, what the Communist Party decided to do, and they were very successful, they would go to the poor areas and they would recruit. And if you look back on newsreels and news footage, you will see a lot of young Black Americans, a lot of young Latinos from some of these areas, and they were communists. They were members of the Communist Party, and they were very
don't forget
active.
the working class white ethnics. I love these faux umbrella terms, right? But it was like that was the bulwark of the Communist Party.
Yeah, that really was. That was the bulwark. There at Che Lumumba, she uh, began a lifelong friendship with Angela Davis.
Oh
So
yeah,
she and Angela Davis, who is a in the United States, she's a very famous activist, Black Panther stuff. She went to prison. You know, it's a deal. Angela Davis is a she's a. We could do a whole story on Angela Davis, but
sure.
she and Angela Davis ran that down in Los Angeles. And in 1968, the Communist Party decided that she was going to be their nominee in the general election. And she ran with a guy named Mike Zagarel, who was part of the Youth Party. He was director of the Youth Party, and they were on the ballot in 4 states, and they campaigned. Now, they did not win. They did not win. They didn't fare very well at all, but but she did it. Like, she was the first Black woman on a November ballot for the presidential election of the United States of America. Then in 1970, after her failed election, she went to work on the defense team. She put the entire defense campaign together for Angela Davis, who by that time had been arrested for her involvement with a murder committed by, you know, some members of the Black Panther Party. If you know anything about history, you know that that really kind of took away a lot of the oxygen from social issues in like 1970, 71, 72 in that era. But that was all headed up by Charlene Mitchell afterwards. And then after that, she just became, you know, she kind of settled in and she did a lot of, she really did a lot of criminal justice issues like that, where she would go and she would find some people who she believed were wrongly incarcerated, and she would do the same for them as she had done for Angela Davis. In 1988, by then, she had moved to New York, and she ran against Daniel Patrick Moynihan, the incumbent for his U.S. Senate seat. Another quixotic run for high public office, and she lost. She came in, I think, fourth out of seven. Um, but at this time, she was very, very active. James Baldwin called her the Joan of Arc of Harlem
Wow.
because she really stood for all of the battles for people who did not have a voice. And in 2007, after that, she became also involved in the anti-apartheid movement, and she went and visited Mandela. She went to South Africa often, and she really applied her skills to trying to end apartheid, which, as we all know, was successful. Unfortunately, in 2007, she had a stroke, and she became partially paralyzed, really impeded her ability to speak, and she went into a nursing home. And for the next, I think, 15 years, she stayed in a nursing home in New York City and died in 2022 at the age of 92. And when she
Totally
died, it
forgotten.
was
I mean, I didn't hear anything in the news in
nope.
2022, and I mean, was.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I never heard anything about it, and I'm a political person. I did my research on it, and really the only place it was noted was in, periodicals that deal for the Socialist Party or the Communist Party. They would say, "Oh, hey, this woman who ran for us back in '68 just died. That's too bad." The New York Times had a very small paragraph on it. I think they had mentioned that she was the first black woman to run for president, which was good. But other than that, I think unfortunately, the United States has completely forgotten about one, a trailblazer, and two, like her or not, like what she's standing for or not, a woman who really put her heart out there and fought for what she believed in. And I hope that this episode allows people to remember Charlene Mitchell, what she did, and the life she lived, and why we should remember people like that when they pass away.
A true trailblazer. And, we hope today that we gave everybody out there watching a little bit of history that's not taught in school. You learned about that there was already a woman running for president of the United States in 1968. What a trailblazer she was. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Don't forget to throw us a like if you could. Throw us a comment if you want. Tell us how much we got wrong or how much we got right. And above all, share this with all your friends and tell them how much you love this show. Thanks, everyone.
All right, man. Thanks. Bye. Hey, if you like what you hear, like and subscribe. It really means a lot, and we would love to have you coming back every week. Thank you.